Also, this past week, the two ESP, what are they, 15F Wi-Fi modules came in. I'll show you the back of this. You can see from left to right is transmit, receive, ground, and 5 volts. And what I've done here, I've taken some little single pin DuPont to single pin DuPont. I've got all sorts of those types of connectors around here. And I've wired the ESP 15F according to the wiring scheme on the back. Transmit, receive, ground, and 5 volts to the little board that comes with the Crossbow Mini. And you can see I've got black to ground, orange to receive, yellow to transmit, and the red up here on the 5 volts. This is the little programmer that comes with the Crossbow Mini antenna tracker. And that's how it's wired. So if we look real quick, device manager, we see that device is on COM 9. That's actually where the little programming board for the Crossbow Mini is connected. And we'll go in here and we'll start Arduino IDE for Windows. I'll put links to this stuff in the details. And we'll select a board here. They say you can select anything you want, but I'm going down here and I get Arduino. What was it I used the last time? Arduino Nano ESP32. It just happens to be what I selected. COM 9, of course, and click OK. Then you go to Tools, Serial Monitor, and make sure this baud rate is 115/200. Right now you can test this by typing AT and hitting enter. If everything's cool, you're going to get back an OK. That's just an attention command. After that, you've got only 3 lines to enter. AT plus CW mode underscore DEF equal 1. AT plus CW JAP underscore DEF equal TBS crossfire. This comes right here, comes from you power up your radio. Let me go ahead and get my radio. Powered up.
Welcome to OpenTX.
After your radio's powered up, you can go into network and internet, Wi-Fi, show available networks. And right here is that device in my TX16S, TBS underscore crossfire underscore E8DB84D009ED. That's what you see right here. I evidently have a second one defined, and here is why it's showing that too. If I go in here and tell it to, let's see, status of that. There's a way. Manage known networks. And see right here's the first one that I have in there, and it's been defined a second time. That's why it's got a 2 after it. So I'm going to tell it to forget that one. Trying not to confuse people here. Wi-Fi, show available networks. Now you can see it says TBS_Crossfire_E8DB84D009ED. You're going to use this, whatever the name of your transmitter, Crossfire transmitter shows right here. That's what you're going to use. Right here, TBS_Crossfire, and then that number within quotes, and then comma, and within quotes, put in the password for your transmitter. And then the next line is this. So I've got these all set up in here. So the only thing I really need to do is scrape through this. And say copy. Go over into my thing and put that message right in here and hit enter. There is that command, and I get an OK. Go and get the second one. I would have my radio fired up while I was doing this, so when it hits these commands, copy, then it will, if it tries to contact the transmitter, it'll have the right information there. So we'll go ahead and drop that information right in here. Enter. Wi-Fi connected. Wi-Fi got IP. OK. So now we go back out. We're going to get our last command. And I am using UDP instead of TCP right here. This is the address of that module. This is the port number 8888. If you've changed that, you'll have to put a different port number in here. And like I say, I'm using UDP instead of TCP. So we'll copy that. We'll drop right here and hit enter. And it comes back as OK. That's it. Now you can go ahead and power down that module, and you're basically finished programming the ESP15F. Most of that information comes from right here. I'm using the Micro TX2 version 2, and right here in Mavlink you'll see I'm using UDP instead of TCP, and my port, the default's 5760 for this transmitter, but I'm on 8888 because I moved it over to the same port as my Dragon Link stuff, so I don't have to remember a bunch of different port numbers in the field. But make sure you match whatever's in your transmitter. And again, you have your transmitter on, powered up, everything when you put in that second command, because it's going to look for that IP address and it's going to match your password. Now, disconnect your little programming board that comes with the Crossbow from the ESP15F store this back away with your other mini crossbow items. This is a balance lead off of a 3S battery. The connector perfectly matches the connector on the ESP15F. The color codings do not. You notice, well, the red does, doesn't it? But the yellow is on ground, and the white is on receive, and the black is on transmit. Now, I don't know if any of you know how to switch the pins around in this connector, but I really could not figure it out. So, again, mine over there on the antenna trackers, probably all out of whack. I thought you kind of pushed down something in there so it would release, but rather than mess it all up, I'm just leaving it as it is. It perfectly fits. You just have to remember, this is supply voltage, this is ground, this is receive, and the black one is actually transmit out of this thing based on what you see right here. This is, again, how if anybody gets a hold of my stuff in the future and tries to go by the colors they see here for what the wires do rather than what they're attached to, they're going to be in trouble. For all my wiring around here, you better ring out the cables, making sure that if it says voltage, whatever is attached, in this case red, is your supply voltage. Because, again, this one's actually the ground, not this black one, just because I wasn't able to move these pins around in this. So now we're ready to connect this to the mini crossbow. That's where, and the reason I bought these, so I could just build one up from scratch, because my mini crossbow connectors like this that came with it, they just started coming apart. So let's go over and look at the actual one I have on the mini crossbow right now. So this is my working one. It's got some double-sided tape, and it's taped down right there. Got, like I say, that balance connector for a 3S battery, which, again, these color codings are wrong, but there's my whole cable. And now let's talk about wiring it into this connector. And one of the first things I'd like to say is the documentation. A lot of people have trouble trying to figure out how the pins are. And I can tell you 100% the diagram is set up as if you're looking at this connector right here, not this end of this connector. Get that out of your mind. You're going to be wiring this based on this, the physical connector right here. So now we're in this documentation. This is where they show you how to wire up to that USB to TTL programmer that comes with the antenna tracker. Don't use this VCC. Use the 5 volts up here as they show it. I think this may be why. I think I may have had it on VCC when I was trying to do my little Bluetooth one that I've not been successful with yet. And this is the documentation of the commands you enter. This one, and
including your password and the description that you see in the Wi-Fi in your computer right here for that transmitter. And again, your transmitter has to be powered up, because it says right here, wait for a response confirming Wi-Fi connected, got Wi-Fi, see below. You cannot do this if you don't have your transmitter powered up. I just put it in my TX16S, powered it up, set it down on the desk. That's all I had to do. And then here's your information for the UDP and the port number and your IP address, 192.168.4.1. There is some information here about if you want to use TCP instead of UDP. You put TCP in here. And it looks like they don't follow that with a comma port again like they do up here. Boy, I wish. You might get an error with TCP at the end. If so, just delete that part and send a command without it. Well, thanks, guys. Here's what we saw on my computer. Wi-Fi connected. Wi-Fi got IP. Okay. And this again is what I used. Now then, after this, they start talking here about how to wire this thing up using these boards that came with the antenna tracker. That's the end where my little wires in those airplane connectors, cannon plugs I call them, 5-pin cannon plug, aircraft type, were coming apart where this hooks in on the other side from here. That's why I used the just straight into the connector. Let's see if they showed here. Yeah, you see mine that came with the thing, these wires started coming out right here from the, and I couldn't get them to go back in and stay in. Let's see if they, no, they're not going to show it here. Where is that shown? That's shown inside the manual for the Crossbow itself. So inside the manual for the Crossbow itself, this is where some people get confused. I'm using the left connector. This diagram is like I showed you, looking at the front of the connector on the unit itself with nothing connected into it. So pin 1 right here, bottom right, is the 5-volt supply. Number 4 right here is ground. And let me go over there and make sure exactly what I use for the TX and RX. So the way I've got my connector wired, I have the transmit out of the ESP15F going to RX3 right here, pin 2. And I have the receive out of the ESP15F going to 5, pin 5 right here. This TX2 Bluetooth, it says. I don't know if I really need it to be in 3 up here. That may be my problem. I'm talking about the way I have it wired right now. We'll have to look at that. Let's see if we can compare this to what they're saying right here. That may be where mine is bad. Let's see. This is the pinouts for the left side. So one, I've got my 5 volts. That's correct. 2, which is TX out of the 15F, yep, is pin 2 on the connector on the tracker, and they've got TX3 right here. That's the one I was looking at. That's not connected to anything. So RX3 to 4 and ground to 5. That's the way I have mine. So this TX3 right here that I was worried about being confused with this one, evidently I've got it correct. I don't have this one connected. My receive on my 15F is going to this, coming from this transmit right here on pin 5. So I've got 5 volts, 4 ground, transmit going to this receive, and receive on 5 here going to transmit on the 15F. So it looks like I have mine wired correctly according to this. Now I do get 100% data link when I power it up. So far I don't get proper movement out of the whole thing, but we'll talk about that here in a second.
And as you can see right here, when I power everything up, this is the T1 Ranger powered up, the TX16S with the micro V2 crossfire transmitter in it. It's powered up, everything's connected. I'm getting a D-Link right now of 60%. It's because there's no GPS, as you can see at the top. There's currently no GPSs currently locked up because the little T1 Ranger's here in the basement. But when you get a bunch of satellites locked up, it will go to 100%. And what I'm doing out in the field is I'm going down, exit. I'm going down to calibrate compass and hitting the right thing, right button. And then while that's counting down, I turn this device around 2 or 3 times till it says okay. And then I just go back out to the, I accidentally started it again. Then after the compass is calibrated, I go to here, wait for that top line to say like 10 GPSs or whatever, and then I simply hit the right button to set home. Right now it will not do that. As you saw, it said less than 5 satellites. But that's what I've been doing, and that's as far as I've gotten. So far it won't track. I do get information for the direction and such once it does connect up. I really need to take this all outside and show this. Well, I've got it outside, and now the refresh rate on the little screen on the tracker, plus the way my camera works, doesn't let me view it because they're out of sync. Isn't that crazy? Well, I took my camera back inside, and even though it's strobing because of the difference in the refresh rates, you can make out these things. You can see that it says it has 15 satellites right now, 100% D-Link, and if I touch the right button, set home is fine. And the platform's sitting right here 3 feet away. So what I'm trying to do is set that GPS into this with that set home function. And the part where my antennas would be mounted right in here points straight up, and it jiggles around a little bit and doesn't actually do anything. That's as far as I've gotten with this creature.
So any help from any source would be greatly appreciated. This is as far as I've gotten. Thank you.